You're on mute, Janina, if you're talking.
Hi. All right.
I hear you.
Yep. Just gonna wait for a few people to sign in.
Perfect. You can see my screen?
Yes, I can see yours.
Awesome.
All right. So, good afternoon, everyone. Hello and welcome. I'm Janina, and I'm thrilled to be here with you today alongside our sales director, Samantha Perry. Welcome to today's webinar, WeSuite Document Editor Creating Standout Proposals. So, today we will learn how to make your proposal stand out from the competition with the powerful features of WeSuite Document Editor and WeEstimate and Quote Anywhere. You can easily create and customize proposals using saved templates or tailored selections. Add cover pages, cover letters, scope of work images, tables, bulleted text, custom fonts, and more to deliver a polished professional presentation. By the end of this webinar, you'll be able to copy existing scope of work for proposal revisions, utilize document editor, features to enhance output, insert images and tables to scope of work, configure default page and pricing selections in my settings, and as always, we want you to get the most out of today's session. So if you have any questions at any point, don't hesitate to ask and drop your questions in the chat. Whether you need to slow down, revisit a point, or dive deeper into something, you just drop your question and we'll attend to you. So let's dive in and make the most out of your document editor with WeSuite. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Janina. Looking forward to today's session. There's a lot of you in here today, so thanks for joining. We are going to talk all things document editor today. I'm going to spend a lot of time in WeEstimate. I'm also going to spend a lot of time in Quote Anywhere. And I know there's some varying user levels in here. You know, some people are probably just looking for some tips and tricks, and other people may be very new to the application. So definitely feel free to ask questions if you need. I will focus on really proposal related items today. This next session in June is all about the electronic signature integrations with DocuSign and eOriginal. So we'll dive deeper into that on the next session. So really just going to focus on all the feature sets available for creating and customizing your proposal documents. So I have a job already made, and I'm going to go right to the document screen, which is going to be this purple icon here at the top. So each of these 6 or 7 icons that you have when you're within a job number will open a new tab for you. And so you'll see once you click that purple document icon, it will open another tab, which will have all of the document and proposal controls, right? The check boxes of how you want to see your pricing, writing scopes of work, things of that nature. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the quote packages. Now, for this particular job, I've already sent a quote package. So revision 1 has already been sent, and I'm working on revision 2. So when you see quote packages in preparation not sent and quote packages sent, you know these are ones that have been out and sent to a customer, and anything under the quote packages not sent are ones that you are still working on. Now, a quote package is really just any combination of documents. So you could be sending one proposal, you could be sending a proposal along with some contracts. So that's really what a quote package is. And every job, as soon as you create a quote, will automatically have a quote package under the in preparation bucket that will be stamped revision 1. And usually the title will default to the job title. You know, some of you do have your bin title and your job title maybe a little different. Mine is automatically the customer name as the bin title, and then I name the J1 or the job title within the bin. Others customize the bin title and the job title, and then you still can change the title to the document itself if let's say the job title is more internal and the actual title to the customer on the cover page of your proposal you want to make different, that's what this title field is here. So you can see it's automatically my job title, but I can go ahead and change it. Now, once you select the quote package, so when it's unselected, the checkboxes are all gray over here. And when I select it, it's going to light up a few buttons here on the left, and it's going to light up the checkbox tree. Now, most of you probably see something very similar. You have the pages that you can turn on or off, and then all of the options of how do you want to display your parts, your labor, chargeable items, test and inspect items, recurring items. And if you use other sub features like wire or subcontractor or other customized things, you might see more or less sections. So it is very dependent on your specific company's configuration, on what you are all allowed to show. And also keep in mind, we do customize some things. So if you said, hey, I really wish we had a checkbox that said turn on this piece of language, we can often customize that for you. So definitely reach out to us if there's things on your proposal that you'd like to change, or for any reason you're exporting the document out to Word and customizing it outside of WeSuite to save you the time of doing that. We could, in most instances, automate it here. Now, I already had a bunch of boxes checked off the way that I like them. That's because I have a template called my default display new customer. That is my Samantha Perry template, right? If you as a company have your checkboxes set in a certain way, the template will be blank. You won't see any template, or it should say something like default. And when you come here, you might, having selected no template, done nothing, there's boxes already selected. That's based on how the company has the document defaulted. And so if you didn't know that you can do that, your system admins can go under the hood and default that doing nothing, just go to the document, hit generate, you can default the checkboxes in a certain way. You can also create templates for yourself as a user, and coming soon is the ability to create templates for groups of users. So I am hoping to be able to show you guys that over the summer when our 6.12 release comes out. But to create a template, it's pretty easy. You would click template maintenance here, and you'll click new, and I'm going to call it 5/20/25 webinar template. And I happen to have a number of different proposal documents. Most of you only have one, but some of you do have different proposal templates for maybe different customers, or if you operate using different logos or things like that. So do keep in mind the document template, the checkbox template you're making is tied to a specific proposal template as well. And you'll know you probably have the right one when you select it, and the checkboxes you see are similar to the ones that you would see on the proposal that you use most often. So on the left is going to be the pages you want on or off, and then over on the right is going to be how you want to break down the selection for parts and labor and things like that. So equipment has a lot of different options because it's what you want to display. Do you want full line item of the part? Do you want to only show quantity and description? Do you want to show the device location or not? Whether you want to show unit pricing, extended, unit and extended, the total on the folder. I won't go through every single one, but you can see equipment also has sorting, and whether you want to, sort it in a certain order. So there's a few layers there. And then most of the others kind of have the basic, like show it or not, show the line item, and show the pricing. And some of you have customized outside of this, include unit and sell for labor, or hide quantity or something like that. So those are customized outside of just the out of the box checkbox tree. As you get to the bottom half, you're going to see the recurring, and then whether or not you're using freight and warranty on your jobs. And then the financial summary is the grand total area, in which you can say just show, a $20,000 sell price, show a subtotal breakdown. Will, instead of just saying it's $20,000, it'll say this much for equipment, this much for labor, this much for chargeable items, and others. Some people just call it miscellaneous. And then the grand total. There may or may not be taxes involved in that as well. And then folder level subtotal just does the same thing, but it'll do a subtotal per folder. So if you had 2 or 3 folders, each folder would have its own subtotal in addition, or it could be in addition to system subtotal if you added all 3. So I'm going to do that because then you'll see what I mean. And I also want to show equipment, quantity and description, unit and extended, and the total per folder. I want to show labor. I want to show charge items. I'm just going to turn it all on so you can see what this looks like. Pages, I'm also going to turn on almost all of them here. And so a lot of these are pretty out of the box. Most of you probably have a cover page, cover letter, maybe 1 or 2. In this case, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different kind of static marketing accolade type of pages about us, our history, meet the executive team, case studies. These could just be kind of static on-off pages, and I'll come back to that when we talk about custom text items. But outside of that, you probably then have your area to write your scope of work, the actual job breakout itself, which is the project budget. A lot of you are using inclusions, exclusions, or clarifications, assumptions, which we'll see. And then some of you are using terms and conditions on your proposal, or a lot of you don't put T's and C's on the proposal and instead have contracts that if they want to go forward with the proposal, then they're signing separate contracts like a purchase agreement, service agreement, monitoring agreement. So I'm happy with that. I'm also going to go to my clarifications and assumptions area, and I'm going to say we're going to include permits and training and conduit. We're going to do monthly term and a 50% deposit. And so now I'm going to save that, and I've created my template. Now it starts me blank again, so I can create another new template, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to close it. And now I'm going to select the template that we just made, and let's generate it. You'll see the yellow generate button in the bottom corner of most screens as we go through. Now, if I zoom out a lot, I like to show this just because it gives you a good picture. I've just generated, a nice 12-page proposal. Okay, now if I zoom in, I'm going to see my cover page, my cover letter. It's filling in, the revision number, the job number, the contact info. So again, everyone's proposals probably look a little different. But all the information is likely automating from when you originally created the lead all the way in WeOpportunity down through the job. And that really just by turning on or off a few selections, that's really all you should have to do before generating a quote. And of course, your scope of work, which we'll get to. So after cover page and cover letter, I did have the About Us, Key Associates. A lot of you have some really nice looking pages. Mine are pretty plain with just text. And then here's where my scope of work started. And we're going to go into that next with that template editor. But you can see I've got, bullets, I've got tables, I've got images. So I can really make a very nice looking scope of work. And now here's the quote itself, in which you saw I did full line item for basically everything. I did the total folder header, which you can see is showing here in blue. So some of you hide the per line item, but do show the total per folder. And I had those 3 folders, and now here's my subtotal where it's breaking out the miscellaneous, the deposit, the balance. It's also showing it as an annual, and then I have my 50% deposit. As I continue on, I've got my clarifications and assumptions page where it had included those 3 things I selected, permits, training, and conduit. So you could see by not selecting the others, they've defaulted as excluded, which is what I wanted. So again, a good protection mechanism there. If you forgot to clearly write in the scope of work, we are not going to do something, it's covered because you didn't say it's included in the inclusions, exclusions. Now, I've seen more and more teams customize this set to show a different set depending on system type. So if someone's, there's no fire alarm, then they don't even need all these, there's no point in seeing all these checkboxes. And others are like, just keep them all on no matter what. But if you do want to customize this more, we can always do that. Some people also follow it with just a static set of just generalized clarifications and assumptions. Um, and there is also the option if you said, hey, well, on the fly, I want to be able to add another bullet and just keep going. That's what we call custom text items, which is basically telling the system, hey, in addition to the scope of work and the cover letter and the T's and C's, I want to be able to edit this part of the document. And I'm going to come back to that after I go through the out-of-the-box templates. Okay. But if I'm happy with this, I've gone and saved that as a template. And if I want that to be my permanent template, you can lock that in under Tools, My Settings, and under Documents. You can give yourself a default proposal template, a default cover letter template, scope of work template, and terms and condition templates. So the checkbox template isn't here. That's coming as a full group right, but you can default some of these other items, and then again select this as a template when you come in. So I personally have templates like my default line item pricing, lump sum pricing, current customer, new customer. That way you have lots of templates, so it's just pick the one you want and go, and you're not having to pick your checkboxes every single time. All right, so I'm going to move on from checkbox templates, if there aren't any questions, to some of the other editor templates like scope of work and cover letter. So in this next layer underneath the document tab, you're going to see kind of home base is quote options. That will always bring you back to this screen. And then you can write your scope of work, write a cover letter, write the body of an email, if you're using terms and condition editor, and then some of you use custom text, some of you don't. And if you ever want to go back to the document you just generated, you can hit generated quote here, and it'll just bring you back to the proposal you were just looking at rather than having to regenerate it every time. Now, in scope of work and cover letter, you'll see they're basically identical. This is where you're going to have kind of a Word-like looking interface to type up your scope of work or your cover letter. And I happen to have one defaulted in here for demos, but most of you probably come here and it's just a blank white page. So I can go ahead and just start typing what I want for my custom scope of work, or I could start from a template that I may have already written up. So for example, I'm using a template I have now, but if I switch it to the executive summary template, it's going to say this is going to add to what you already have. Do you want to replace it? Or if you want to replace it, remove what you have already, or are you good with it adding on top of? So I'm going to say, yep, just add on top of what I got here. And now it pasted that on top. So here's a different scope of work template that I have. And then you can see the old one starts here. And so to create templates, there's a similar template maintenance button. And I'm going to do a similar thing today. I'm going to add a new one, and I'm going to call it 5/20/25. And it is going to start with what you have in your scope of work template already. So if I don't want that, I just want to start blank. Actually, I'm not going to delete everything because I don't want to recreate all of this because I want to show you a few things. But let's delete like here down. Okay. So now that I have my template started, and if I want to continue, you're going to have these tabs here at the top. So home is going to be kind of the generic, like changing the font style, size, bullets, bold and underline. And we also have coming soon highlighting a piece of text. So you can do that outside. So if you've written a scope of work and you've highlighted, a paragraph yellow or something, and then I go and paste it in the WeSuite scope of work, you will see that highlight. I just don't have a button to go ahead and highlight text, but this is a new feature as of 6/11, I believe. So that way I can go ahead and highlight this text yellow. If I want to insert something, you can insert pictures and tables. And so you can see, for example, this is the schedule highlight of the schedule. And it's a table where I have kind of white lines and I filled in these other lines. And then you can go ahead and build a brand new table by just selecting table. I can say how many rows and columns I want, and then I can go ahead and customize this table and format it and all those good things. So I would say taking the time to build some nice small templates that you can stack together. Maybe it's based on the manufacturer or system type or packages. It does give you a good starting point because then you can just click that, add it to your job, and then customize it on the fly as you go. So if I'm happy with this template, I'm going to go ahead and go back to template maintenance and just hit save. And then now if I come and I wanted to use that template, I'll go ahead and select it. It's going to say, are you sure? I'm going to say yes. And now it's going to stamp in on top of what I have. In addition to, so template maintenance also, the type of template I created was a scope of work template, but I don't have to go to the cover letter editor. I can just go say, I want to create a cover letter template now. And I'm going to add one and I'm going to call it the same thing. And I'm going to say, hi, can't wait to work with you. And save that. And so now if I were to go over to my cover letter, I have a default cover letter already, but I could go ahead and say, no, pick this cover letter. Are you sure you want to do that? Yes. And now it added that right here. So this template maintenance is global to the editors. I could update any of these templates, scope, cover letter, email, terms and conditions. There's an extra caveat to terms and conditions. So that's only if you have the user rights to change your terms and conditions, not just anybody can do that. But scope and cover letter, you have the kind of open access to. Any questions so far before I move on? Okay. So I'm going to do everything we just did in Quote Anywhere just to show you how simple it is. So for those of you who are maybe new to this, we are heavily in the process of rewriting all of our features in a nice, easy to use web-based platform. And so I'm going to open up this job that I was working on, and you're going to see very familiar, comforting screens. Okay, I've got my bin, I've got my folders, I've got the customer estimate, everything that kind of matches these buttons up here are all down here. This job equals that job. I can move back and forth between the two applications with ease. And as soon as for some of you, all the features that you normally use are here, and you never have to log into WeEstimate ever again. Some of you really like WeEstimate and the power that it has for larger jobs, and treat Quote Anywhere as more of the mobile app that goes with it. But you'll see that gap continue to close. As it pertains to the documents, everything I've gone through, you can go ahead and work on. So I'm in my quote package revision 1. Kind of a bit of a change is the quote package is running along the top of the screen here. So the whole job is within this quote package, if you will. So if I go and add another quote package to make revision 2, revision 3, it's a little more clear that it's not just a revision of the document itself, but truly a revision of the quote that you built. And so now when I go into this proposal and I hit configure, I'm going to be able to write my cover letter, write my scope of work, write terms and conditions. My custom text items are here, which again, I'll circle back to. And then the checkbox tree templates are also here. Now, creating the templates is still in WeEstimate, but using them is in Quote Anywhere. Most of the admin features to create things like new templates and new users, and that's all coming in this next version. But if you're ready to use Quote Anywhere today, I would say just create yourself some templates in WeEstimate, or if you already have, great, then you can use them in Quote Anywhere. Now, if I click configure, it's going to show me that full checkbox tree again, but it's just laid out a little differently. It's just all folded up, and I have to unfold each section, and you can see it's the same as how it was in WeEstimate. I can show or not show all these different categories. And so you could always change checkboxes on the fly. If I go to edit the cover letter, here's that cover letter that I had already. I'm good with that. Or you do have the editor here too. I could go and add tables and pictures and bullets and change color and font and things like that. Or I could pick from a template I already created. And here's the one we just created together in WeEstimate. Or it's just a blank white page and you just type what you want to type for that particular job. Scope of work, same thing. Because I have one here already, that's why it says scope of work edited. If I removed it, when you look at a brand new job, this would just say add, add, add. So I'll go ahead and add a scope of work. I'll pick a template that we just designed. Are you sure you want to do that? Yes. And then it's going to paste in my template. If I'm happy with all what I created, I'd come back a couple tabs. And now instead of configure, we'll preview. And it's going to generate the proposal for me. It will open a new tab in the browser. And that proposal template we were just looking at is going to generate here. And then I can go ahead and review it right in front of somebody. I could go ahead and email it to them. We could e-sign it standing right then and there too. Or if they're not with me, I just click send for e-sign and it will just show up as an email in their inbox. Okay, so there's my proposal. Okay, so let's come back now and talk about custom text items. So this comes up fairly often. We'll talk about terms and conditions also. So kind of newer to the document editor is to be able to customize your T's and C's and be able to create other areas in the proposal that you might want to interact with. So terms and conditions is pretty straightforward. It acts pretty similar to scope of work and cover letter with the caveat that if I go and just delete term number 2 and say save, it's going to ask me for my password. And so if you don't have the user rights to edit T's and C's, you would need to work with a user that can do that. But that way you can edit your T's and C's for a particular job number, just special for that customer. And then the next time you go and generate a new proposal, it will go back to your standard T's and C's. And so in addition to removing, I could add more or change text or anything like that. And this is just I don't know, this is terms I've had in there for a very long time. So probably needs an update. You can maintain your terms and condition templates as well, just globally as a user, right? If you've updated your terms for, 2026, where now, here's a new clause, or, you've upped a, cancellation policy or something like that. Again, as a admin type of user, you can do that, but just not any user. Okay. And so it acts very similarly. I can make any type of cosmetic edits to this, go ahead and save that. It's going to ask me for my password and I'm good to go there. Now, custom text items, I have a few examples and lots of you have used this for lots of different things, but it usually sparks from, hey, my proposal is great, but I really wish I could put a case study in there, a picture of my customer's logo just to personalize it more, or my headshot somewhere. And that's where custom text items come in. You could do any of those things in scope of work or cover letter terms and conditions. But if you said, hey, I want one other place to be able to just write whatever I want to write, we could create one or more custom text items. So I have, for example, a custom text item called cover page image. And I'm going to add an image of someone's logo. And there it is. I'm going to save it. I'm going to generate my document. And this image is going to show in the place that my custom text item was designed to show up. So if it's something like cover page image, you might want it to always show right here. I had someone else where they had an image by default here unless they changed it to something else. Like I think it was their logo or their building or team or something. And then unless they changed it to something else, it would then swap. And some people also change the location of it. But there's a very good example of a custom text item. Another one I have is case studies. So let's say I could either just freeform write, case study number 1 and number 2 and number 3, and I could just type it out and we're good. Or I could load in something from somewhere else, which I don't know, I'm just going to put a headshot here. Okay, and I'm going to make this smaller, and I'm going to save this. And now I'm going to go over here and I'm going to turn on my case study page. I happen to need to do both of those things, but you don't have to do that. It could just be the logic knows if something's in here, turn on the case study page. But I'm going to go ahead and turn on the page as well, generate. And now I'm going to have another page added to the proposal. And again, it'll show up where it's designed to show up. If it shows up right after scope or at the end or something like that, that's something we work to program with your team. But that way you don't have to mess with it on where it's supposed to go and where it fits and all of that jazz. Adding a lot of images and things, so it needs a second to load. But now we'll move forward. And there's my case study page. So if this is something you already have, go and check out what your custom text items available are to you, like additional clarifications. In addition to the above, we are not doing X, Y, Z. Okay, update that, generate again. Sorry for the load time. Just probably tripling my scope of work wasn't a good idea, but now you're going to see that clarifications area is going to add another bullet, or I didn't put a bullet, it's just going to show as a line of text, but in that clarifications area. So familiarize yourself with the ones that you have, and if you'd like to add one, or really in general, it's a great opportunity to give your proposal a facelift. If you have lots of little edits that you want to do, it's great to give it to us all at once, because we'll have a doc engineer design it, test it in Sandbox, go live, and you have all of your changes in one go. So let's move to clarifications and add it here. Now in Quote Anywhere, I have the same exact thing. I could, when I hit configure, my additional custom text items are just listed as their own categories. So that's why I have additional clarifications, case studies, cover page. And so I could do the same thing, hit add, throw in an image, and that's that. All right, any questions about the editors? Because I'm going to move on to copying and pasting proposals, revisions, and showing options and finance options. So if we're good on the template editor, but feel free to throw anything into the chat. Okay, so let's talk about copying jobs and proposals. So we had added a feature few versions ago where when I copy a job I did, a month ago, and you right click it and copy, and I want to paste it into this job I'm doing now. And it will pop and ask you, do you want to take the proposal documents with it? And what that means is it's going to take the way you've broken out your pages, the pricing, and it will also copy the scope of work. and the other editors. But it will change, you know, it won't say ABC Company, it's going to say Valley Hospital in the areas that are programmed to show that way. If you wrote ABC Company 10 times in the scope of work, you will have to make sure you go back and edit that so it doesn't have somebody else's name in it. But I can say, yep, copy the proposal as well. And I happen to only have a proposal on that job, but if I had contracts, I could have said copy the contracts too. And so now, with that having been done, I copied the job itself with all the parts and labor and things. And I also copied the proposal with the way I had my checkboxes checked and the way I wrote my scope of work and all of that good stuff. So that can be a really nice feature if you're doing something similar to a job that you've done before. If you don't say copy documents, it will just only copy the job itself with the parts and labor and recurring items and things, and your document would just be a blank slate that you'd start new. Okay. Copying and pasting jobs is also coming in the next release of Code Anywhere, so I'll be able to show more of that to you. Options. This comes up pretty often and is very out of the box now. Let's say I have, you know, a intrusion system, and they're thinking about cameras. So I'm just going to say, you know, optional 2 cameras. And in there, I'm going to put some cameras. Doesn't like these cameras. That's okay. I'm going to. Yeah, it doesn't like these parts, but that's okay. I'm going to start back with this job. Okay. All right, I'm going to start from this job instead. And let's say I'm just going to rename this folder optional 2 cameras. And so I have 3 folders now, and most of you know what this is going to look like, but I'm going to go ahead and generate it anyway. And so by default, the folders are going to list in the order that they're in, and they're all going to show as being included in the job. And that's going to make sense once you see what I'm going to do with options. Is anyone having technical difficulty? Because Janina got booted out of this meeting and she can't get back in. But everyone can still hear me. Can someone just pop into the chat that they're good? All right, cool. Okay, so the show must go on. All right, so we're going to move on to the folders so I can show you. Yeah, tripling the scope was my problem here today, guys. But anyway, here's my folders: access control, video, and optional 2 cameras. There's nothing in these folders, which is fine. And there's my grand total. But if I said, well, I don't want to show those optional cameras as part of the job. The job is $3,000. And then they have additional option to add, you know, more stuff. So I'm going to say $500 with, yeah, it's not liking my price today, but that's okay. And so I'm going to go ahead and switch this folder from being part of the job to being an option. And so when I click all estimate items, there's a section over on, it's kind of what this 4th quadrant is, which is the control of your folders. I could reorder them and say I want optional on top or I want optional on bottom. So if you wanted to reorder your folders, that's where you do it. I could change the job type and system type per folder. This is particularly important for certain accounting integrations because I want access to go to access and video to go to video and so on and so forth. And some of you use phases as well. That's also important for some accounting integrations. The estimate options is what I want to focus on for the document, though, because they're all included in the outright sale. But I'm going to say, well, optional cameras, just print it on the document, but don't include it in the outright sale. And then it slaps a black question mark on the folder so you know that it is an option. Let me see if it'll let me copy some parts in here. Right, it did. Nice. Little tip there, if you ever wanted to copy parts from one folder to another folder, you just literally drag the folder and drop it on top of another folder. And it'll copy the equipment content and labor at the equipment level. Now that I have, I'm going to do the same thing for video so things don't look like $0. Okay, now I have a $14,000 job, and my folder is, this particular folder is $4,000 option. So I'm going to go now back to the document. I'm going to save you guys the pain of this load and delete my scope of work. It's too much. Save. Generate. And so now we're going to see this folder as showing as an option. Messing with this job far too much. All else fails, we're going to start a new job because I messed with this one too much. And I'm going to close it as well. Okay, I'm going to come back to that particular functionality, but options is pretty straightforward. And then I don't know how many of you use our finance lease module, but that's also a pretty nice feature. Whether you use the module or you just want to put it on your document, we're seeing more and more team members are offering, they're not using the words finance or lease. Maybe they're calling it like company maintained or something like that. But it's like, hey, you don't have $40,000. You could finance it with us for, you know, X per month and this much money down. And from that point on, and then someone can opt in or out of it. And so I want to show that because I know a lot of you are using that feature and some of you are kind of starting to dabble into that. Whether you self-finance as a company and you're trying to get a rate creation multiple, or you use a third-party bank and then you're getting paid in full, WeSuite can store the calculation of the finance option. So as the salesperson, you're not messing with formulas. You're just saying, okay, turn this on, you know, show them a 3-year lease and the 5-year lease. And so I'm going to do that now together with the option so you can see what I'm talking about all together. And I'm just starting a new job because I've been using that job for a couple days and it was didn't like what I was doing. All right, we're going to make an alarm system. And this is going to be optional video system. Put a couple things in there. And now we're at a $10,000 system, and we're also going to finance it for them. They want the 3-year option and the 5-year option. And we'll include them both on the proposal. I'm going to come back to this. Let's just make sure this all generates because I want to show you the final look so you can see what your options are. And I have to go ahead and print on documents. And I need to click my core package. And we're going to do my default new customer, and we're going to show my finance options. Okay. Okay. So here you can see the available options splits from the financial summary to now showing as an option. And it's following the same configuration as the checkboxes I picked. So if I said show quantity and description of parts and quantity and description of labor, it did the same thing for my options. If you did want those to be different, like some people show full line item of what's included, but only lump sum of the options, we can do that. We just need to know that and either default it a certain way or give you more checkboxes. So you'd have a section called, optional folder display, and you could say show this and don't show that. If I had 5 optional folders, it would just keep tacking on the option 1, option 2, option 3, and then the customer could um, opt in or out of it with a electronic signature initial, or just say, hey, yeah, I do want to go with option 2, in which case you would come back to the job and flip it off of outright sale and back to off of print on doc and back to outright sale, and it removes the question mark on the folder. You do also have exclude from sale, which that's if I don't want to right click delete the folder, but they're not taking this option. I just want to say that I offered it to them, but they didn't take it. That's why I would use exclude from sale. Now, in addition to that, I also showed my finance area. And so this happens to show in this way. I offered the 3-year and the 5-year lease. I didn't do anything with this math. It knew what to do based on the formula set in the system. And they could initial to accept it. And in this case, they need to apply for credit or financing with ABC Financials. And some people are putting in a QR code or just a hyperlink. And some of you are self-financing, so you don't even include this. It's just finance it with us for this or for that. So this is a whole other feature that if you wanted to learn more about this module, we could go through. It's basically a combination of how many months do you want to make your money back in? Is there an interest rate? Are you charging? Is there a term involved? Are they going to be putting any money down for a deposit or not? All of those factors, essentially we're going to reverse engineer whatever your secret sauce formula is for financing into the software, so you as the user just say include it or don't include it. You might play with it a little bit by the customer. When you hit estimate here, it's going to actually expand your RMR toolbar to show the lease option. So in this case, the company wants to make their money back in 8 months, and they have a 10% deposit and a 10% interest rate. So 10% deposit is 876, and then 771, and then it splits the remainder over the 8 months. If you and the customer say, well, I can only pay, let's lock in the 8 months. Let's say I can only pay $500 a month. Okay, well then you're going to have to put $3,700 down. So you could give the user the ability to play with this, but otherwise, if you keep it easy, you just include it or not, and you shows right up on your proposal. So really nice way to offer financing. I see this also with like service and maintenance plans. If you really want to start incentivizing customers going with that, include it as a section of your proposal, and someone could just initial to accept it or not, and then you can include it in the job or the contracts that then you end up sending. So I see a lot of that. And I also wanted to show you guys a sneak peek of a new feature coming in this next release. Some of you might have seen our announced integration with System Surveyor, but this is coming out in 6.12, which is coming very, very soon. But it's kind of 2 new features. One is the integration with System Surveyor, so now I can show my System Surveyor floor plan right in my WeSuite proposal just by clicking Link Survey. And 2, in general, we enhance the supporting document area to be able to just add your supporting documents somewhere on the proposal. So we got a lot of requests from people saying, hey, I often take the WeSuite proposal, export it to PDF, and then merge it with another PDF that I have of drawings or cut sheets or whatever else. And so this will allow you to not have to take it out of WeSuite. I could say, add the, this was a case study I downloaded earlier, which I put here. Add that case study, I have it right here, to my proposal. And here I could see I have a bunch of different areas. I could call it Exhibit A or case studies, or just make it page 11 of my proposal. And then when I go to the document, it's just going to continue to add those items into my proposal. So that's coming very, very soon, and you should see announcements of that as 612 comes out. And that'll be available in Quote Anywhere as well. You'll start to see in 612 a lot of these features that I'm talking about, supporting documents, the finance module, the test and inspect module, they're all making their way into this application. So with that being said, I think I covered everything. I did want to open it up for questions. Otherwise, we're happy to let you all go. Thanks for your patience with that larger job I was working on, but hopefully you picked up some nuggets today. And if there are any questions or anyone wants to talk about their particular document, happy to answer those. And Janina, do we still have you here?
Yep, hello.
Oh, great.
Right. So thank you so much. So thank you for joining us today. We hope you've learned some good information to take back for yourselves and share with your teams. Do want to let you know that we'll be having a few upcoming webinars. So tomorrow we will have the Quote Anywhere from Lead to Win Smart Quoting to Close More Security Sales. Starts at 1 p.m. tomorrow. And on June, we'll have close sales using e-sign integration on June 10, and best practices for onboarding and offboarding users on June 17th, 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Tuesdays as well. So thank you and take care and have a great day, everyone. Thank you.